Hey guys, welcome to OurTake. Had a little time off since our last video, but we wanted to do a video this week well, E3 is going on right now.
Yep.
Big video game expo.
The biggest
video game expo.
I was about to say.
Really, but we wanted to do our top 5 movies that we believe, or top 5 games that we believe should be made into movies.
Yes, or that could make pretty good movies.
Yes.
You know, if done well. These are in no particular order. You know,
Yeah.
It's more of just 5 movies or 5 video games that we selected that we thought would be pretty. That could.
And this is just our opinion. I think this would be our top. I mean,
yeah.
These are the ones we want. There are obviously some other ones, and I think we'll do an honorable mention at the end.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and kick it off. First, let's go with Uncharted.
Okay. Well, Uncharted is It's just one of my personal favorite games. All 4 of them.
It might be my favorite franchise.
Yeah. Well, they're so fun to play. You know, when the selling point truly is it's a modern day Indiana Jones, and that's truly what it is.
Oh, it's good. It's a whole lot of fun.
Feels that way, and there are several elements to the game that are so cinematic. You know, when you're playing it, it feels like you're watching especially for each game, it feels like you're watching a 9-hour movie.
Well, that was the commercial for the second one. Remember, it was the guy and his girlfriend, and she would get the popcorn because she thought he was watching the movie.
Yes, that's right. And I forgot about that.
Yeah. So they knew what they were making.
Well, and see, that was.
But this, which one do you want to see? I mean,
we could get into a whole discussion about which one I think is the best.
I don't want to say it's the best. Which one did you want to see them? Would you want to see them make all 3 into movies, or all 4 into movies? Or did you want to see a whole different Nathan Drake story?
Well, here's the thing, because we do know Uncharted is being made into a movie as of now. Tom Holland's going to be playing a young Nathan Drake.
And so they're going a different route.
See, and that's what... It's kind of frustrating for me, because the reason the games are so good is that the backstory of Nathan came pretty organically. They didn't start with how he was when he was young. They just threw you right. It was very Indiana Jones-esque, where you didn't know anything
about Indiana Jones till the 3rd movie.
Yeah, you didn't about him being young, where his origins kind of were. It was just you just were like, oh, this is just he's a treasure hunter. He's kind of like a cowboy type. He kind of plays by his own rules. It's just a lot of fun. And this is where the direction they seem to be going.
It's not how we.
It's not how I would. I would just prefer them almost do it like how they did the video games, which is that they just throw you right into the beginning of a new adventure of Nathan Drake.
And also in those games, the side characters in those games are also really interesting.
Sully's hilarious.
Yeah.
All the women they're also very powerful women because they can take care of themselves. You know, they're awesome. You know, they're not like a damsel in distress.
No.
And when they are in distress, there's a significant reason, and it's because of that you have more of a connection as far as wanting to.
Most of the time, they're fighting right alongside.
Yeah, they're right there with you.
So that leads itself to a good supporting cast.
You could easily get some great actors to support in the movie. I know Bryan Cranston was supposedly rumored to play Sully. I thought that would be a decent choice. I remember when David O. Russell was attached to direct, De Niro's name was
it was De Niro and Wahlberg with that at that time.
I couldn't picture Mark Wahlberg as
no,
Nathan
but
Drake.
I'm saying those were the names
I know,
attached.
Yeah. But I think
that was of course right after The Fighter.
Yes, because he had not made American Hustle yet.
Yeah.
I do think though, this is a film franchise that would have to be in the hands of someone that can tackle that genre of the action adventure genre is a genre that is not really played out anymore.
No.
They don't do that. The last decent movie that I can really think of off the top of my head of that genre where it's they're on the run. There's like puzzles that they're having to solve. They're searching for treasure. It's National Treasure.
Yeah.
That was like 15 years ago. And it's like, that's just a genre that doesn't happen anymore. I think it could be a fun genre, but it's like, I don't know what director could really do a good job with that genre. It would be interesting.
I agree. But again, that's one I think we would just both love to see.
Yeah, if it's done right, of course.
All of the ones we're about to say, if it all, there's like a big if attached to it. Let's go to the second. Let's go to the other one we want to mention. Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yes. And
I've always thought, after playing that game, I've thought that would be an interesting Batman movie.
See, like,
because it's so small.
It's contained.
Yeah.
And because we were having this discussion, which one would be better to as a movie, Arkham City or Arkham Asylum, and we kind of came to the conclusion.
Arkham City almost sounds similar to Batman Begins at the end.
Yeah, a little bit, where the city's kind of running
escaped and
they're just running rampant.
Yeah.
But with Asylum, the reason I think would be a fascinating movie is that Batman's trapped. He's stuck in a very contained space, and he's having to go basically building to building, trying to basically defeat all his old villains. Like, I know.
I mean, it's not really basically. I mean,
it's the plot of the game.
Yeah.
And I think it would be, especially with the more recent Batmans that have been very big and grand, I think it would be interesting to see a smaller Batman. And I think it opens up room for some really good acting performances, because you could have Batman, but then surround him with all these like crazy characters, and it would be awesome in my opinion.
Yeah. You don't have to develop anything from that.
I know.
Like, he's just fighting to get out. And then this is a darker, grittier Batman play.
Yeah. Well, all those newer Batman video games have them. They're darker.
But I guess me saying that, who do you have playing Batman? Who would you like to see play?
Oh, Robbie P. Like, listen, I am fully on board for Robert Pattinson.
There's a lot of people upset about that, and if you're upset about that, you haven't watched anything else.
You haven't seen anything post Twilight from Robert Pattinson. Hit 2 movies, The Rover and Good Time are 2 movies those he won me over completely. Where I was like, this guy is fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's
good.
He's a legitimate actor.
Yeah. So when he got announced as Batman, I was pumped, and then was pissed when I saw people kind of complaining. Not like, I mean, there were several people that were like, no, he's like they thought it was a good choice. But there were several people complaining, like this kid from Twilight. I was like, no, like he could be a good Batman.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I think he could easily pull off.
Who do you think could direct something like this?
Oh, I don't know. You know, because it would have to be a little darker. I don't know. Like, it's weird thinking about.
Fincher could do it.
Yeah, I mean Fincher could do a lot of good movies, but I'm trying to think of someone like, I guess,
but I feel
smaller.
I feel like in terms of tone.
Oh, well, of course.
I feel like Fincher would be able to nail the tone of that movie pretty well.
Yeah. I do remember because he was supposed to do the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I've always wondered what he would do with a superhero movie.
That would have been interesting.
Well, it would have been a vastly different movie.
Yeah.
Because once Sam Raimi came on board, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree. I think Fincher could tackle it, and I would like to see it just because Fincher. I haven't seen David Fincher. His last movie was Gone Girl. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I know he's done Mindhunter, but it's like, I want more. But I think that movie, for Arkham movie, I'd almost want them to try the Christopher Nolan route where it's someone kind of unexpected. Like, maybe Ari Aster that did like Hereditary, and he's doing like Midsummer. Like, if you see, you never saw Hereditary, his shots, everything is so precise, and you can tell he puts a lot of thought and effort into it. And I'd like to see how he would handle a bigger budgeted movie.
Yeah.
You know?
But that is, I've always wanted, ever since playing that game, I've wanted to see a movie. A feature length film.
I agree, man. It could be, again, if done well, could be awesome.
Let's go on to the next one. And this one would probably, I don't want to say the easiest to make, but in a sense, it's already kind of been made.
Yeah. See, this is what when we were making this top 5, I thought we should put it in because the game itself is so cinematic. Like much like Uncharted.
It's The Last of Us.
Yes.
And for anybody who hasn't played The Last of Us,
it arguably it's up there with like Red Dead Redemption 2 or
it's up there with anything. It's one of the greatest games ever made.
It's serious from gameplay, but also story wise, it is. I've only played good video games. I'll go back and play. I can only play a game once because it is an emotional journey and struggle. Like it is, but it is so good.
Yeah. And
what you were discussing as far as it's already been kind of made,
it's very similar to Logan.
It's very similar to Logan.
Yeah.
As far as the relationship with an older gentleman having to escort like a younger girl, a little girl who you suddenly realize has she's super important. Mm-hmm. And he much like in Logan, he didn't understand, and Last of Us the same way, he doesn't understand why until a little bit later on. Like Logan, he figures out relatively soon. Last of Us, it's like a fourth of the way through why he realizes why he's having to escort this girl, which is that she's immune. She won't turn to a zombie.
Yeah.
That being said, it's like I seriously, I would pick Hugh Jackman to play the main character from Last of Us. Like with that beard, his character in Logan, I just kept thinking, I was like, he's just like.
Another person I thought too was like Bradley Cooper from
Star is Born?
Star is Born. Like
kind of rough.
That rough with the beard.
I think so. I mean,
and it's a little bit, again, Hugh Jackman's the obvious choice.
But I'm telling you, like that was my thing when watching Logan. I was like, oh, how could you if you picked anyone else like. If someone could do it well, but the whole time you'd be like, Hugh Jackman would have done this better. That's what I would think like the whole time.
Yeah.
But
because there's been rumors about this becoming a movie.
Well,
right?
From the moment it came out.
Yeah.
It came out, got all these awards, and I think it was rumored that like Hugh Jackman was in talks, which I was like, perfect. But I don't know who would direct it. And I guess would you pick James Mangold, the guy who did Logan? But then I'm sure he wouldn't want to,
Yeah, well, I mean, you're making the same movie.
It's a very similar movie. I mean, it's much. I guess it is basically the same because it's a journey, and along the way you meet certain characters that help you. That or you don't know if you should trust them or not, and then you do end up liking. It's. I think it could be made into a very, very good movie if I'd almost want to keep like the same screenplay from the game, but it's like then at that point that has to be like 3 movies worth. It's almost like you might as well make a mini series because the game is it's long and it's dense. Like there's several different story kind of lines, and it takes place over the course of like I think it's like a year and a half, and it would be huge, but. Again, if it's done well, it would be awesome. And that's the other thing with almost all these movies, they would have to have a big budget. The Last of Us, I think, would have the potential for of the games like on this list. Last of Us legitimately could have the potential to be like almost Oscar worthy.
Yes,
like all the rest of these.
It's a very.
No, it's because it's not just about
realistic, gritty.
Yeah, it's not just about like the zombies. Like it's you're in this world where there's all these zombies, but like The Last of Us legitimately was something that was like this could be an amazing, serious movie. The rest of these games are like it would almost be pure entertainment.
Yeah,
Arkham would be dark, but like and Uncharted is like Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
The Last of Us. Seriously could be it could be a legitimate movie, but let's the fourth game that we chose,
and we're actually choosing the fourth game.
I guess I would. We chose God of War, and the reason I chose God of War there are the game is, especially the fourth one, the newest one that was on the PS4, it is massive. I mean, it is huge. There's so much you can do, and because it's based on Norse mythology, so you have the opportunity to go to, I think it's 7 different worlds that you can go to, and it's like, at what point, what story do you choose? I guess you just choose like the main storyline of the game.
Yeah.
And this is a movie that would have to be R-rated because
it's just
he's the god
of war games are just brutal.
Which is
it's fun to play.
As demented as that sounds, it's so fun to play doing that,
and
you feel like an absolute badass when you're playing it. But the reason I think it can make it a very entertaining movie is, and it's gonna sound kind of dorky, but it's like, I love Norse mythology. I love that Norse mythology aspect of it, and how you're constantly being introduced to these characters, and they're like the god of this, or they have this certain power, and just to see how they all kind of interact with each other is really kind of fascinating.
It is interesting, and I think part of what would make the fourth one a more interesting movie is just a little twist at the end of that game gives it a little, like, I don't know.
But that's more leading on for, like, I'm more excited for, like, the second game, you know? Like,
but it sets it up for, like, a franchise.
Yeah,
I mean,
it definitely does.
Yeah.
And this is it.
Who would you have playing
Kratos?
I
mean, he has, like, the body stature of, like, The Rock. I mean, he's, like, absolutely shredded. And honestly, I would actually prefer someone kind of like that, because Kratos, even in the game, he's very serious, and he's kind of over the top. So it's like The Rock is a little light. Like, he clearly likes having some comedy in there, but I don't know. It would have to be someone massive, someone big, and it necessarily wouldn't have to be the best actor. Yeah. It would just have to be someone that could command that screen presence.
So he's a very similar character. How Gerard Butler was in 300. He wasn't necessarily the best actor.
That's a very good comparison.
Yeah.
Now, Kratos, especially in this fourth one, I don't know. Like, it's very similar character. I'll give you that, but it's not. Gerard Butler, I don't think would.
I'm not saying Gerard Butler. I'm just saying you don't need the best actor to be able to pull off that type of character.
You're right. We need Vin Diesel. No, I'm just kidding.
It's about family.
Yeah, that's what the game is kind of about. Like, I think Vin Diesel would be on board without them asking. You know, so I really don't know where I would go. Like, maybe I want to say, like, maybe Bautista, but Bautista's, like, seems a little chunkier. Like, Kratos he's big, but he's not, like, fat big. You know, like, Bautista kind of has, like, he's just kind of big all over. And Kratos is just like a walking muscle.
Yeah.
I don't know who. And I don't know who would direct it, because it's like super mystical as well. Like, it's tons of magic and tons of kind of, not necessarily witchcraft, but, you know, it's dealing with, like, gods and titans, and, you know, I really don't know who would direct it. It would have to be a massive budget. It'd almost be worth having, like, having Peter Jackson, a young Peter Jackson, do it. Yeah. But
Peter Jackson's probably good for that one. Peter Jackson's
because it's total world. This is huge world that you're introduced to, and if he's someone that has proven that he can totally immerse you in a massive world, and I think he could do a fairly decent job.
Yeah.
But I you know, that one is one that, even though I think it could be made into a good movie, I don't know how they would do it. The rest of these games, I think I could see them doing it. I don't know how they would do it with God of War, because it's so big.
Well, no, you would like you said, you would pick the main storyline.
Yeah.
And you would just kind of ride it through.
But even then, it's massive. You know, I'd love to see it. I would love to see it, but it's a daunting task for sure. You know.
Next up,
this was your kind of both of ours, actually. Like,
this was the first time we played a video game. at least for me, and my first thought was, I'd love to see this on film.
Well, this was
and
like
then my second thought immediately after that was, I don't know how they're going to do it.
It would be difficult, but I actually have.
But no, it's the final one on our list, and
this was the one we collectively were like, this of all the games that we chose, this is one I really would want to see on film.
Yeah, it's BioShock. The
original
BioShock.
I'd love to see the first BioShock on film.
That aesthetic and the world they're in
was like dark. It's so dark,
and it's underwater, but it's got like that steampunk thing going on.
It's cool. It is so cool.
And the world that's actually down there is so immersive.
Mm-hmm.
It's very. It's a game. It's a special.
It is a video game.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like it's one of the.
It's something else.
I'm not too big on like that survival horror video game, but you throw on BioShock, and I was like immersed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That was one because I remember you started playing.
On top of all of it is the story in BioShock is one of the better video game stories.
Yes, especially kind of. I mean, especially for if you were just to take the first one for a standalone story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like Uncharted where there's like there could be several adventures. For that first one, it felt like a very
they made more, but they made more surrounding the original.
That original story was so precise and well executed.
Yeah,
and
the first time you play it, the twists and turns that game takes.
It's awesome. I think one difficulty besides having the budget to try and create that world.
Yeah.
Would have to be huge.
I mean, it would have to be massive.
Like the other problem we talked about is like in the game you're alone the majority of the time, and it's a first person shooter, so you're not your character's not talking.
No,
and
well, you hear him speak.
Well, yeah, but not like a Nathan Drake or not like Kratos and God of War. I mean, you. For the most part,
and there's no cutscenes. Everything happens. It happens
right
in front of you.
Right.
That's what they put you in an area where you can't shoot or kill anybody. And they show you something.
Yes,
and there isn't a whole lot of interaction with other. I mean, with other.
Well,
people.
I mean, there are like there's recordings and you can talk.
The world's immersive. There's a whole lot of interaction with the world. But
you occasionally, it's not like it's kind of walkie-talkie-esque where you're.
Yeah.
It's not you responding to him. It's more of
you're listening.
You're just listening. You're right, and I don't as a movie you'd have to find a way around it. So it's like, how do you go about that?
You have the walkie-talkie. The only thing, and me and you talk about this. The only thing we could think of that might play well is the little sister. Like you could save the little sister at the beginning, and she could be. But
sidekick. She would be. It'd almost be like the one of the later games, the BioShock Infinite, where you do have like a little girl sidekick.
Yeah.
And it could probably play pretty well.
Yeah.
Who would make this? I have one definite like.
Well, we've talked about this too. We spent a lot of time talking about this. But Del Toro obviously would get the feel.
He's the only one. I'm sorry, like, the aesthetic of that movie, I don't see anyone else pulling it off the way he would.
I agree.
Budget-wise and creating the world?
To pull off the scope of BioShock, James Cameron has to be involved.
But then at that point, it's like, it would
James Cameron can produce it, Del Toro can direct it.
No, see, Cameron could make that world, the city of Rapture, like being underwater, like he would make that seem very realistic. But the movie would end up, I think, being very cheesy.
Yeah.
Del Toro could make it, and it have that horror suspense and that the video game has.
But I don't know if he'd be able to create the world
how as big as it is.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you're going from literally one part of the city to another.
See, at that point, I would rather take the chance of... It's funny, because we're talking about, like, two Oscar-winning directors, like... like, I think this one could do it. But Del Toro, I would rather take a chance on Del Toro. Like Cameron, with Cameron, you know what you would get. Del Toro, I think, could really, especially if he really fought for it, he could probably get a big enough budget. Like, you never saw Shape of Water. And Shape of Water, there are certain scenes where I was like, I just remember thinking, he could easily make BioShock. Like, easily. That's what I still stand with, like, Del Toro. He's the guy. Mm-hmm. And I remember for the longest time, Gore Verbinski was...
Well, he was the one tied to it for a long time. He went out and that was $150 million is what he asked for to make it?
I thought he asked for $90 million. And they only wanted... Because this was back in, like, the mid-2000s. Or whenever.
I remember, I thought it was over 100.
See, I thought it was... Because $90 million at that time was a big budget.
Yeah.
You know? And he wanted it... He needed, like... He said he needed, like, $90 million, and he wanted it to be R-rated. And the studio...
First of all... This game, this movie would have to be R-rated. There's no way around it.
Well, on top of it being violent, the game, it's also very disturbing. Mm-hmm. You know, like you couldn't make.
You're dealing with a bunch of mad scientists.
Mm-hmm. You could not make a PG-13 movie and it be this as disturbing. Because if you take away,
it's a scary video
if you
game.
take away those really elements of the game that would make an R-rated movie, if you try and tone it back and make it PG-13, it would be bad. Which is why I'm sure Gore Verbinski said, like, I'm not budging. I'm not budging from that. Like, it has to be this way. And it's something probably hard to convince producers to say, like, I think it could be a little more easily done now because you're seeing more and more blockbuster movies be R-rated. And that kind of started with Deadpool, you know? Like, there were always, like, The Hangover made a lot of money. But, like, Deadpool was the first movie of that genre that usually would be PG-13. That they made R-rated.
Yeah, I guess
and then
genre, yeah.
Deadpool was, like, a comedy. But then Logan came along.
Yeah.
Logan was R-rated. And that made a ton of money. And I think that's kind of opened some people's eyes as, like, we can probably market something that's R-rated. Mm-hmm. And BioShock, I think, definitely would be one of those movies.
Absolutely. And I think the other challenges behind that is there's no comic relief in BioShock. Like, no. It's a dark movie. And then casting your lead would be tough because of how much you are alone. He has to feel like that's a tough character to portray because you're lost.
You'd have to pick an actor that can play a very stoic character, someone that doesn't talk a whole lot, but can almost do a lot of good nonverbal acting. Mm-hmm. Like, I know this isn't like a premier actor, but like Guy Pearce in his prime, I would pick Guy Pearce. And that's personally because I love Guy Pearce, but that's someone I think we talked about Robert Pattinson. If you watch The Rover, he can play a very serious, stern, stoic character very well.
But again, that's a young...
I know.
This character's like in his mid-late 20s, I always took it as.
Oh, see, I took it like mid-30s.
Maybe. I mean, he was a war veteran, right? That's what you were supposed to get out of that?
I believe so.
And this was
I don't know. I don't know who you would choose. Fuck it, let's do Robert Pattinson again.
But, I mean... He possibly could.
He's a great actor. Those were our top 5, like, for sure. Honorable mentions, 2 that are honorable mentions, and I think Red Dead Redemption 2, only reason it's not on the list for me is that it's like, you essentially, because that game is so big and there's side stories that you can do, and the main story is awesome. It's excellent. But at that point, it's like, there have been several Westerns. Like, clearly Red Dead Redemption has taken a lot of influence just from many Westerns.
Yeah.
And it's like, you would essentially just be making another Western movie. Mm-hmm. It's not like these characters are awesome, but you could create another Western that's just as good, you know?
And then Grand Theft Auto was in that same breath.
You would basically Grand Theft Auto is so over the top and crazy, and it would be entertaining.
Watch Heat.
Yeah, serious, dude, that shootout scene in Heat is one of the best of all time. But
It's like a mixture of Heat and a Guy Ritchie film.
Yeah, because like I said, it's so over the top. Like there's things that are funny, but then it's things like no one behaves this way.
Yeah,
and it just wouldn't. It would end up being in my opinion, a generic action movie.
Yeah.
You know,
it wouldn't have to have the name Grand Theft Auto associated with it for it to be.
I agree. And then my last personal honorable mention would be.
I think there's a couple. There's Dead Space, which neither one of us had played.
Yeah, so we couldn't talk
to really
talk
about it. It's a very, in terms of.
I've seen people play it and it's horrifying.
Yeah, but it's a pretty solid story. It faces a lot of the same challenges that BioShock would face, being made into a movie. But
Dead Space, in a sense, is kind of like Alien, right?
Yeah, it's similar. It's not quite the same.
But I would say the same feel, as far as feeling like at any corner you could come across something that's going to easily kill you, and it's like, it's quiet, and it's like you're just worried.
Oh no, Dead Space is terrifyingly quiet. Like it's.
And then there's something that's like, fuck. And then another one, like I would choose LA Noire, but that's more of me missing. I miss that 1940s, 1950s aesthetic, along with a
LA
great.
Noire is fantastic.
But that's another thing that it's like it's a movie in itself.
Yeah,
it's a massive detective story that you are trying. I mean, there's several cases that you go through, but there's usually overarching
is
storylines.
What makes the game so great is the scale of the story that's being told, and if you take out the scale of it, it becomes your average noir film.
But see, that's more me personally loving noir. I love noir films.
No,
so it's like, even if it's a basic noir film, I'm like, I'm still on
but at that point, is it LA Noire? That's my point.
No, you're right. It faces the same problem that I think Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto would face.
Yeah.
Is that, would it be a good film? Very possibly, yes. But what would make, like, it would just, it still would feel like a normal noir film, or Red Dead Redemption is a normal Western film.
Yeah.
Nothing would make it, especially like, oh, this is like the video game.
Yeah.
You know?
And then one more. There's The Division, which is already actually in production.
Well, kind of. I mean, David Leitch is attached to direct it, and he's Hobbs and Shaw and Atomic Blonde. He co-directed the first John Wick.
You had to get Hobbs and Shaw.
I know. Same with me. Anytime I read the headline, I'm like, I'm on board. I haven't even seen Hobbs and Shaw. I'm on board. But it's like Jake Gyllenhaal's supposed to be in it. Jessica Chastain's supposed to be in it. Last time I checked, it was supposed to be written by Steve Gaghan.
So that
it could be. I mean, he's been hit and miss. I mean, he's won an Oscar.
Gaghan?
Yeah, like an Entourage. Yeah, Gaghan.
Yeah, Gaghan.
Like he made Traffic's amazing, but then he's made some other movies that I'm like, well, I don't know. But I still, if he wrote the Division is an interesting concept in general,
and I think that's the reason it could be pulled off, because it is such a, I don't want to say vague concept. The concept's really cool, but there's not a whole lot of a story in the Division. You're just,
the gameplay is somewhat repetitive.
Yeah,
you know,
and but like there's not really a whole overarching story. Like the story could be told many different ways, and you wouldn't. Like, you're not really having to base it off the game. You could just call it the Division, because that's what you are. The Division is the people trying to, take back the city.
Right.
It's a fantastic concept.
And I hope
it's an awesome world. The world that you're in is pretty great.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
I mean, it's supposed to be coming out on Netflix. Netflix got the rights to it, so we'll see how that goes. If everyone stays on board, I mean, Gyllenhaal always puts in a pretty good performance. Same with Jessica Chastain. David Leitch he did Deadpool 2 as well. Like he can clearly direct action, and that's kind of interesting because it makes you think. I guess they're going in the direction of like it's an action movie, but I I have faith in it. I think it'll. I hope it ends up doing pretty well.
That being said, those are the video games we'd like to see turned into movies. It has proven to be a very tough thing to do. When you could make the argument that Mortal Kombat's the best the best video game ever turned into a movie.
No, there's no way. See, that's what's frustrating, because there's there was Max Payne, there were the Tomb Raider movies. There was.
I've looked at the
list.
There
was Doom. There was.
You're not getting closer.
You know what I'll give an honorable mention for? For Wolfenstein, go see Overlord. Overlord's basically Wolfenstein.
No.
Kind of.
Not even close.
Kind of.
It's based in the middle of World War II.
You nailed it.
That being said, for real, go watch Overlord.
And go see Overlord.
You know what? We may review that next. Overlord. It was one of the best one of our favorite movies from last year.
As far as fun. Real quickly,
it's
all I'll say is the setup of it is what a video game movie should be.
Oh, absolutely. That director should do something like.
Oh, he did a really good job. But what I was talking about,
it's very simple.
It's a simple storyline, and there's clear cut objectives that they have to hit, and they'll hit the objective, and then there's what would be the equivalent of a cutscene, and then it's like, oh, we got to now go do this.
Yeah. And
they'll try and get to the objective or try and complete the objective, and something may go wrong, or they'll complete the objective and they have to go do something. You know, it's very simple in structure, and it's just that's what video game movies sometimes get. They try too hard, and it's like if you made it that simple, I guarantee it that people would go see it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we went on a tangent there, but
Overlord's so good.
Well, I just thought of like the aesthetic of Wolfenstein was very similar to me of not aesthetic, but like kind of storyline as far as like building that 1,000-year Reich army, you know. So, but that is our take on video games that should be movies.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next time. So.